Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to another exciting episode of Colney Talk Podcast, your bite-sized breakdown show. I'm your host, Alex. First-time listeners, glad to have you here. And to my returning guests, thank you for sticking with me. As always, I talk a bit about the Arsenal match and pick out my top 3 Arsenal players who shined, and one odd player, not good enough, I get to call out. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope it was a great time for all and your families. Here's to hoping Arsenal does it big in 2025. And just like that, Arsenal had to start the new year right. They did so in a convincing 3-1 victory over Brentford at the G-Tech Stadium. The Arsenal players, they show their signs of adapting without key players, especially Saka coming into this game. And little did I know Havertz won't be there as well. So I'll confess, I wasn't sure how the game will go, especially the kind of form Brentford have been at home. So there was even more worry for me. But thankfully, I'm here smiling on the win. A lot to be happy about, so I'll just get right into it. In the first half, the opening 10 minutes, it isn't how we would have wanted it to go, but it's how we responded that mattered. Arsenal started brightly. That's the usual sign of how we come to show ourselves present in the game, dominating in possession and pinning Brentford back. I think Brentford were comfortable in what their game plan was, and I don't think anything was a surprise there. However, the hosts, they were well organized, a low block defensive posture, raise your hand if you've heard that before, and it continued to prove a lot of difficulty in how we wanted to start the game. But this is just the first the first 10 minutes, so nothing crazy about that. The Gunners started to build up with patient play, but perhaps it was a bit too methodical at times, lacking the incisive needed chance to break through. But I think you can simply say this is our way of trying to grow into the game. But just like that, Brentford's goal came against a run of play from a slight quick dispossession from Odegaard, and then exposing one of our quick laps, I guess, in defensive structure. This highlighted the importance of maintaining the concentration even when we dominate in possession. That's always my worry. We would dominate. The stats would show we're 80-90% in possession, and just one quick play from the opposition and boom, we're 1-0 down, chasing the lead or what have you. So that was what we got to deal with. But thankfully, the equalizer from Jesus was there before halftime, and that was so crucial, enough for us to get back into the game, get ourselves ready to show what we intend to do. And it wasn't just for the scoreline, but for the team's mentality going into the break, because the first question that everyone is going to be thinking about or talking about is how are we going to look without Saka? How are we going to even play without Havertz? Because Trossard was on the bench, but we did have Jesus, so there was enough attention for him in that space because he occupied a lot for the front man, and we were looking forward to that from him, and I'm glad he answered with that first goal for us to equalize before the half. So that was good. What was particularly impressive was Arsenal's ability to create overloads in wide areas like we would do. I think this was more on the right side than you would see on the left. And, those wide areas were how we try to, get those penetrations in, which we did into the box. This compensated again for Saka's absence because we had to somehow create some blitz, if you will, getting into that box and creating a lot of threats. So a little bit of adjustment in terms of tactical flexibility. And, the fullbacks, especially Timber, they played a key role in having that numerical superiority as far as recycling the ball and getting Odegaard to create something, which he was trying to do as quickly as possible. But I think for how I saw Arsenal trying to make this happen in their favor, it was more of organized chaos. And I think I'm going to use that word a few times in this pod because that's what we needed to do. A lot of overloads in player that wouldn't just be isolated, especially Ethan Nwaneri that was starting, and that was great for him. And I'll touch on that much later, but this was that proven plan of getting our right wingers, having those overloads help take a little bit of the pressure or pick your poison, if you will, because that's exactly what Saka brings, and we wanted to at least maintain that going as well. So, it was an intriguing aspect of Arsenal's performance, and it helped with more of a fluid positional play, because that fluidity makes a rhythm stay prime, stay humming, where the players are not building back from our side and pushing back, Brentford into their own, box and the defensive third and trying to get things going. So it was a good sign of how we wanted to maintain that pressure. And, having the front three of Jesus, Martinelli, and Nwaneri constantly interchanging positions, but I would swap Nwaneri with Odegaard because he had to come in and fill that void. It made it a bit difficult for Brentford, even though they were very disciplined. For the first half, it wasn't as easy breaking them down and trying to create some chances and spaces, but we had to make it work. Arsenal did a lot to work with very tight spaces between the lines and those tight traffic areas that Brentford weren't really making it easy for Arsenal, and they had some sense of physicality in top too. So when that comes active from the opposition, you get to see less of Odegaard's brilliance shine. He struggles in terms of how much he gets knocked off or, trying to get into those deals. So we know that's some area that he's always going to suffer, but he played really well in terms of Arsenal's midfield trio. Partey, Merino, and Odegaard were huge in controlling the game's tempo. I was skeptical because of the pace, but Partey was good at the six. He played a very good game, leveraging angles to slow Brentford down when they try to create some sort of counterattack. But a lot of that shout out also goes to Merino, making sure that he can anticipate where some of these free ball bounces would be, and their positioning allowed Arsenal to maintain a lot of progressive balls going forward through the final thirds efficiently, and that was amazing. And mind you, I'm saying all this without worrying about, hey, where's Rice? He really showed, he being Merino, played a good game to give us that luxury of playing a lot of a stretch of that midfield dominance and then having Rice to come in and clean up or come in and just add a little bit more pressure on top. So we're often given the chance to have these midfield players show their dominance, their skill sets, and it was easy for us to bypass, Brentford's first line of press with a lot of ease. But that ease was Arsenal's intensive press, and this control in midfield was key to Arsenal's dominance in terms of possession and territory, and staying so much high up and heavily pressed on in the first half, even though we had a lot more work to do after we chased to get back that goal to equalize. So that's how we were going into the half, and I knew there were things that we needed to, plan for coming back into the second half. And that's how it was. The second half, we saw Arsenal shift gears, displaying a little bit more direct and aggressive approach. Nwaneri added that dimension and attack that I am glad to see in Saka's absence. His movements was so silky. I mean, quick decision, dribbling out of, very tight corners. I think he's getting really close to being one of our main players that is press resistant in terms of maintaining balls and maintaining the control of our game. And that was something Brentford couldn't really account for a lot, but it was good. It helped give Odegaard a lot more room to operate or come in and keep our attacking going, forward as quickly as possible. And that was great. Arsenal, in fact, that added to more of the confidence in how we maintained our press defensively, because Arsenal's press intensified. It forced Brentford into errors in their own half. This high risk, high reward strategy kept paying off, where we got a number of the turnovers in the areas that we ultimately prefer. And we continue to build from that. This team's ability to sustain this pressure for long periods was a testament to the conditioning of the tactical discipline and expectations of how we have to imprint our style in the game for a long time. So that was it, which led to our 2 quick fire goals early in that second half. And it, sure enough, was a byproduct of organized chaos because we pressed intensively, stayed on it, and just like that, we increased the tempo and pressure. And before they could do anything, we had a set piece FC show itself, and we, got a benefit from that. Merino's goal from that situation underlines our improvement and how we want to take that as early as possible, which was good. And then Martinelli's, strike of a goal, it showcased the team's ability to capitalize on that. Quick decisions in the box. Quick decisions in the box is my motto. Stay within that area and do not have 1, 2, 3 touches. I'm glad we were able to benefit from that. Defensively, Arsenal were compact. We tried to shrink the amount of space, that we were given. And it wasn't something that we were just left to take. We had to create it. Brentford were creating a lot more space in the first half, giving us a lot of fits. So we changed that up. It compressed the space for Brentford to operate in. It made it difficult for them to build attacks. I often saw them build a little bit and then revert back to the keeper, something that we've dealt with in the past. So I guess we give them a little bit of a medicine of how they would figure out their own way. And we gave them a lot of reads, but didn't feel like it was enough for them to go forward. So we intercepted those passes, got those possessions right back in where we wanted to get our transitions and attack going forward. So that was it. I mean, we played well. The fullback role again, rearing his head, Timber, he was really good in helping, making sure that we were having that numerical advantage to push up and stay there. And I think that's one of our bread and butter when we are trying to make that imprint in where we want to regain the balls, possessions, and get our game going. So a lot of kudos to the intensive discipline that we had to overpower Brentford, because they too played really well, but I think they were really outmatched in those areas. So that was it. That was the game. I was really happy with a number of things, which I'll get into. But now let me talk about my top 3 performers in this match. First player, Gabriel Jesus. I mean, he managed to find pockets of space between Brentford's defensive lines, constantly offering that option where he will be the lead man getting those long balls from Raya. It was good when he dropped deep to link up, effectively acting as that false 9 at times, which he needed to do in this game since we didn't have Havertz. It was excellent in his pressing from the front, setting the tone in collaboration with Odegaard, which had that high intensity, very well helpful. And I guess he really paid off when he was able to rebound on that free ball to equalize that goal. And then he also managed to time his perfect runs a few times to get things going. And that was that prowess that we know Jesus possesses to keep us going. So that was good. He was good when he held up players a lot. We had a couple of those. And this is, I guess, more for Jesus to show what we've always looked for in his skill set as the lead man. And I'm glad he was able to do that, especially in terms of attack and keeping us going. Jesus' performance was really good in terms of how the center forward play from him was well commendable. His movement off the ball, creating space for Martinelli, while also linking up with Odegaard was crucial. I think we didn't even sort of notice any drop in any way, not should we have, as far as Nwaneri coming in. In fact, it made it so much better. So his reward for the goal was from his tireless display of a hustle and adding to the chaos that we needed to get things going. So that was really good from him. Second player, Martinelli. Excellent in one-on-one dribbling, consistently beating his man, going through those long balls and runs that he would get from Raya as well. He managed to make some of those run behind as well. I think a couple of them, one of them with combination to Jesus led to an offside, but he was there. He gave them a lot of discomfort, running through those back line and, cut it inside. He was good. Having to create the shooting opportunities when it showed itself was what I needed to do a lot more. And I think this goes to Odegaard as well, and in fact, all our attackers. You get into the box, don't hesitate, because more of that organized chaos shows up well for us. His finishing was something that I guess he can take back and look forward to the other games that we would definitely need. So, great game from Martinelli. It was a perfect blend of flair and functionality, and his hustle plays from defensive contributions has not dropped at all. His direct runs, constant problems for Brentford's right side, and this is Martinelli I'm still describing, was equally impressive. He has done enough to be one that is lauded for his defensive contributions, even though he might do a lot more damage when it means going forward, which we know he does. So, kudos to him on that. Third and final player, a player that I really, really admire, Mikel Merino. He was good when he dictated the tempo of the game, knowing when to speed up or slow down, knowing how to maintain our flow when we would regain possession, breaking up Brentford's attack with his well-timed interceptions. Listen, it takes a lot of football knowledge to anticipate when to make certain interceptions, and there are a few players that come to mind for me. That's Jorginho, and now Merino is getting to that same list, and he was excellent in doing that. His positioning was immense, always offering that passing option to Odegaard and Partey. I mean, he made them both look really good, which makes him great. He's contributing in that final third as well. It was really good, and not to mention his goal. I mean, he was good when he switched play with long diagonal passes, and then when he needed to, either do a tap-in or at least show a threat, it was right there. So I couldn't be happier to at least award him that position of one of my top 3 performers, because he was immense. I mean, he was able to control the game's rhythm, and that was crucial for us because that was more of our dominance, really. Because if we did really well in midfield, it would translate exceptionally in our attack. And at least this time around, we were able to translate that to a lot more threat. So, it was his all-around ability to show how much he's contributed and will continue to do so in this team. So, big ups to him. Overall, the team showed their ability to adapt and maintain tactical discipline and execute the game plan effectively. And I think it was more so in the second half. The fluidity in attack. The first person I'm thinking about is Nwaneri when it comes to mind, because we got that ball and we had to run through, and there was no stopping him when he could just dribble his way out of any trap. And then maintaining our defensive solidity, albeit a few tight chances where this could have gone either way. Like, it could have gone from 1-0 to 2-0, but we were able to defensively keep things sharp, and, it helped us leave with maximum points to keep pushing. So that was amazing. I mean, overall, the team played well. I have no odd man to, pick out for this match, so that's a good thing, and hopefully it stays that way. This win at Brentford, it's a notoriously difficult away ground, and it's not even just saying it for the sake of it, because they are one of those grounds when they're playing at home that it could be the losses that you would account for, in the season. But thankfully, we're able to turn this in our favor. Looking inwards in terms of a message that we are talking about for our attacking concerns, Jesus has answered that challenge. Now, it's typically going to be either Jesus or Trossard as far as how we would keep our attack going and keeping the standards up. I'm also pleased at how Nwaneri gave us, at least me, something to hope for, because playing on that right was a good fit. I mean, his first Premier League start against a familiar team for him, he did not disappoint. I see now that Arteta will probably lean in to picking Ethan, and that's my hope. it shows that this team has the depth and the tactical flexibility to play as they should with the amount of quality that they have, and the mental resilience to navigate this challenge for a long Premier League season without Saka. That's enough to give them credit for. So that's something to really highlight. And then let me not forget, Lewis-Skelly, just like that, will soon be a norm, as how he's blended into the first team, and it's simply insane. I mean, I don't like we will be without Timber for the next game due to suspension, but I know that we're going to be looking forward to having MLS, starting, and maybe Calafiori on the other side, but who knows? But he's given us something to change our overall outlook, and it's huge. It really is. As we move into the second half of the campaign, performances like this will be crucial in maintaining our momentum, and it's counting on these really young players to make that go a long way. So, I'm thankful for that. All right, that's it for this tactical breakdown. Thank you all for tuning in to this Colney Talk podcast episode. Remember, if you enjoy this, like, subscribe, and share with your fellow Gunners. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.